Getting kids to eat vegetables is important, but sometimes impossible. So it's nice to know that you have the same problems as people like Chrissy Teigen. She recently admitted that one of her children has never eaten a vegetable. It led to a lot of empathy online, but also judging.
Please welcome Chrissy Teigen and David Chang.
The appearance was meant to promote her new food show, Chrissy and Dave Dine Out, but it quickly turned into a parental therapy session. When host Jimmy Kimmel asked the duo about their kids' eating habits, Teigen praised her daughter at first, but then...
Luna is the best eater. Luna's amazing. She eats salads, vegetables. Miles has still not had a vegetable. He is 6.
He's never had a vegetable.
Never. He accidentally ate a broccoli floret in a fried rice and was so upset about it.
Chef Dave Chang and Kimmel had similar confessions, and Teigen explained the psychology behind it.
I've gone on a Zoom call with the school before where they talked about picky eaters, and they say that it's the only thing they really have control over at that age.
It's perhaps shocking that the model-turned-foodie would admit to her son's eating habits, especially when you consider how important vegetables are for a well-balanced diet.
We know that between the ages of 2 and 6 are when picky eating is at its height.
And while every parent has experienced the frustration of trying to get their kids to finish their meals, experts suggest you set realistic expectations by starting kids out with a small portion.
If a child tries 1 bite of a green bean, we'd say celebrate that, and the next time you present a green bean, 1 bite would be the expectation. And then after the child's shown multiple times that 1 bite of green bean is not that challenging, move to 2 bites, but don't move from 1 green bean to an entire bowl of green beans.
Tips that Teigen may want to try. Certainly a contentious issue on X today. We asked for your take. Should you force your kids to eat veggies? 68.3% of you say yes, you should. 31.7% of you say no, you shouldn't be forcing them. Okay, let's bring back Dan Laxer and Samantha Kemp-Jackson. Samantha, we're going to start with you on this one. So, do you force them or not?
Yes, force them. That's my short answer. I mean, that is completely ridiculous that her kid has never had a vegetable. That is not only ridiculous, it's somewhat problematic. I'd be really concerned about that. Her job as a parent is to make sure that her child is adequately nourished. And yes, it's difficult. Having kids is difficult. I have kids. I know what it's like, but you got to persevere. There are many ways of getting your kids to eat their vegetables. You can make a smoothie and hide some kale in there. You can make some cookies and muffins and put some spinach in there. I used to do that with my kids. It's not that hard, and I think that we've gotten to a point now where we're making it so, we're letting the kids kind of take control over their environment, and they're too young to be able to make those kinds of decisions as to whether or not they're going to eat their vegetables. They need to eat their vegetables.
Yeah, if we read between the lines on what she said there, it sounds a little like maybe never knowingly ate a vegetable, because she described that broccoli floret that he found inside of fried rice. I don't know if she was trying to hide it. Anyways, I'm not going to try and read Chrissy Teigen's mind there, Dan, but are you on Team Teigen?
Well, I don't know what team she's on, because remember, she didn't say I haven't fed my son vegetables. She just said he hasn't eaten vegetables. And I'm going to go the other way on this.
But she seems to let it go, with all due respect. It seems like she's like okay with it in a sense.
Well, because sometimes as a parent, there's nothing you can do. And I feel bad going against Samantha because, well, parenting is your bailiwick. But at the same time, you know, as you say, we've all raised kids. We were lucky. Our kids always loved vegetables. But it's all you can do sometimes to get them eat the food that you prepare for them. And after a while, it's not that you just give up, but you say, I'm just going to try next time. So, I mean, you can try to hide kale in a smoothie, but something tells me the kids are going to taste this and go, Mommy, this smoothie tastes funny. I don't like it. There are going to be some kids who will take to the vegetables, and there are going to be some kids who won't take to them. But I'm sure that Teigen's son, at some point before he grows up, he'll eat vegetables. You got to have faith in that and not worry about it too much. What bothers me about the story is how younger parents these days have kind of relinquished their agency over to the hive mind. And, you know, if they say, well, my son doesn't eat vegetables, what do I do?
Yeah. and get online and ask the other keyboard warriors to help them out.
Yeah.
Samantha, are we all the more shocked because Chrissy Teigen is a cookbook author and somebody that maybe people look to for that kind of guidance on, how to do something well in cooking, or even how, having to sort of disguise something for people?
The irony in the joke is not lost on most of us who have looked at this story. It's actually kind of ridiculous. And I don't know if she did that by design or she just didn't think about it, but here you are out promoting your new, position as, a foodie, a cookbook author, or somebody who knows their way around food. And then in the same sentence, you're talking about how your kid, you can't get your kid to eat said food. Now, I agree with what Dan said in terms of sometimes you just can't get your kids to eat, and that's normal. That's a part of being a parent. Some days they're just not going to eat, and that's totally cool. That's totally fine. If it's every day, that's a problem because they need to have a certain balance of nutrients, and you can't keep capitulating to what your 5-year-old says, which is sometimes, I'm not eating broccoli or I'm not eating any vegetables, forget it, I'm never going to eat it. That's when you step in as a parent and you say, actually, you are going to eat it, or else X, Y, or Z is going to happen. Or find some other solution, hide that food. But really, it's not healthy for a child to be 5, 6 years old and never have eaten vegetables.
Yeah, and I think I remember some times that my parents who watch this every night will remember that I would have staring contests with vegetables because they'd say, you're sitting at that table until that plate is clean, and hey, I did it most days. But Dan, I'm not going to put this on my parents, but I'm going to ask about parents. How much responsibility does the parent carry? Let's say for Brussels sprouts, because if you just boil them, they are not tasty. You prepare them well. You roast them, pan roast them in the oven with some oil, salt, pepper, and a couple of spices. And I'm telling you, those can be life-changing. So is it on parents as well to be more creative with how we're cooking some of these things?
Absolutely. I didn't have my first Brussels sprout till I was in my 40s, and it was roasted with bacon. That made all the difference. I wouldn't go near tomatoes or olives as a kid. And yeah, my mom would use that line, you're sitting at this table until you've eaten your vegetables. We can't do that anymore. I don't think that's an effective way of parenting, but you can negotiate. I'll give you another French fry if you have a green bean. I'll give you another French fry if you have 2 green beans, and you turn it into a game. And eventually your kid will eat, maybe reluctantly, and they won't be happy about it, but if they want the French fry, they have to have the vegetables. That said, again, I don't know that it's necessarily fair that we go over Teigen. Yeah, she's a cookbook author, and she's trying to get this show off the ground, and she did say what she said on Jimmy Kimmel. But we don't really know what goes on in her house. She says, my son's never had a vegetable, but I'm sure he has.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I just want to pick up on something that Dan said earlier, Samantha, where he talked about this sort of, this new, I don't want to call it a fad in parenting, but going and sort of asking the people online what they should do. Is that something that you're seeing more of? And do you think it's a good thing to try and sort of reach out to the mommy and daddy communities out there?
Well, I think, generally speaking, in a broad sense, yes, it is always good to kind of feel like you have that community around you and that you have somewhere to go to ask questions. And certainly parenting is trying. Anybody who's done it knows that it ain't easy. However, I think that it's kind of the balance has tipped over too far. So I know a lot of younger people go on TikTok. Some people are obsessed with TikTok. They watch TikTok all day. They're making TikTok videos all day. They're checking to see what people say on TikTok. And, yes, there might be some, nuggets of knowledge there, but you really do have to be able to find out information beyond social media to actually look at some of the more traditional ways of finding information. Because just because somebody made a TikTok video and says, hey, it's totally fine if your kid doesn't eat vegetables for 12 years until they're 13, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true just because someone made a really compelling and exciting looking TikTok video. So I think that, yes, you can certainly find a community online, but I think that people need to kind of get away from the social media, especially the younger people that we've been talking about who they grew up with it. They're digital natives. So this is just the way they get information, but they need to be apprised of ways to get information that doesn't include the hive mind.
Yeah, unless, of course, you're going online to find that Brussels sprouts cooked with bacon
That's
recipe,
right.
which I think everybody is going to be texting or reaching out to Dan Laxer for now, because that sounds delicious.
It's the only
Okay.
way I can eat Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I believe it. Anything with bacon, really.